And ladies and gentlemen, we are down to just 4 teams battling it out for a chance to win the national championship. 2 will remain at the end of the night. We have 2 NCAA Tournament semifinal matches that are going to be taking place. We have BYU taking on Lewis and the all Big West showdown, Hawaii versus UC Santa Barbara. We have an all-star crew here to break down everything. We brought out all those nonstop, all the sources to come on in. We are joined by Jonathan Bates. We're joined by Peter Stewart, Cindy Lewis, and Jalen Reyes. All-star crew. I'm so excited that we were able to get everyone. So let's start off, guys. I can't wait for this. Cindy, you are the expert in volleyball coverage, Hawaii volleyball. You're the gold standard. Give us your opening thoughts here on this showdown that I think we all were kind of expecting to see in the Big West tournament. Now we're seeing it in the semifinals.
Well, to be honest with you, Vinny, I'd like to open with something I said to you yesterday. I remember when I first met you in person 4 years ago here at Ohio State, and Off the Block was just starting, and you saw the potential. And now 4 years later, I think you and Jonathan's hard work have really paid off, and you guys have just become the premier place to go for men's volleyball. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. So we're good. This concludes our coverage. We check everything out. No, just kidding. Thank you, Cindy. So
all right, yeah. So what you're asking, I think it's going to be a great match. This is what everybody anticipated at the Stan Sheriff Center about 2 weeks ago, that it would be the top seed Hawaii and number 2 UC Santa Barbara. UC San Diego had other ideas, and it's not that I think Hawaii was looking past UC San Diego, but the Tritons just played out of their minds, served aggressively, and I think that is what UC Santa Barbara has seen how to take Hawaii out of its game, is serve aggressively, so they can't run the middle, take Gassman out, and then you're going to be able to stack on the outside against Patapuna, Cowell, or Galloway. But, as I think we talked to Rick McLaughlin the other day, yeah, you serve aggressively, but you want to serve efficiently. And they had 20 errors the other night against Pepperdine. So they need to clean that up. I think where it comes down to, and the rest of you folks will agree, it's the basic volleyball, serve and pass. Whoever serves better and passes better, because the teams are very, very similar in terms of having multi-prong offenses. You've got weapons at every position. I think maybe Hawaii, if they're in system, actually has a better 3-meter attack, because Cowell and Galloway can both hit the bic pretty efficiently, quick arm, quick swing, and just a high jump. Gassman has been playing with a 3-meter attack, so I've seen him once in his career do that. But you just never know with Patrick that, he's always asking for the ball. So we'll see what happens on that one. Looking at what happened with when they met 3 times previously, Hawaii needs to get off to a quick start. One of the problems they've had when dropping a set in matches is, for the most part, it was set 1. Usually they take a little while to get adjusted. They just wait to see what the other team, the tempo is, and then they'll make great adjustments set 2. I don't know if they can afford to wait this time. I think they've got to come out aggressively, start quick, establish the middle. And Patapuna, as he said yesterday, fully takes the blame for the loss against San Diego. And I think you'll see another Patapuna tonight.
And Peter, we're going to bring in Peter Stewart, the former libero at Tusculum University. Peter, I want to get your thoughts just defensively in this. What are some of the things that people should be keeping an eye on in this matchup?
Defense is going to be a huge part of this, specifically blocking. I think for UC Santa Barbara, they have to slow down Rado. Clearly, that was the kryptonite for Hawaii's game loss against the Tritons in the Big West Conference game. And I think slowing him down is key because that's going to force them to feed the other pins. And with their size advantage on the right side of the Weiss, I think that's going to come in favor for them. But then again, you have two outstanding pin hitters from Hawaii and Colton and Galloway. So in aspects, I think blocking is going to be huge. Middles have got to be there. And kind of what Sydney said, and you know, feeding the middle and offense, whether it's in the front row or in the back row on the BIC, is going to be huge because both teams are very stacked on the pins. But I think it's going to come down to the few kills or few errors coming out of the middle attacks.
Jonathan,
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, I was going to say, Peter, I absolutely agree about the middle. When you take a look at the three matchups that Hawaii had at Santa Barbara, they outblocked the Gauchos 28-13 in three matches. 14 of those was in the first meeting. So again, they slowed down DeWeese pretty effectively then. And to your other point on Potapunov, in his defense, a lot of those errors were out of system swings, basically garbage balls where he was the only one that said, okay, fine, I'll take a swing at it. And a couple of times he was on the left. And you know how hard that is for a left-hander to hit from the left. So a couple of those things just went wide. It's not a position or not a situation he's comfortable in. I mean, when he first started as a freshman, they had two great opposites in Potapunov and Stein van Tilburg. So they both had to switch in some rotations and play on the left. So I think in Potapunov's defense, with those hitting errors, he had 13 against San Diego that a bunch of them were either out of the system or hitting from the left where he had a very awkward approach on him.
Jonathan, I'm looking at this matchup as well. We've said a lot of names, broken out a lot of stuff. I'm thinking though for UC Santa Barbara, is McFarland the X factor here? Because you look at the passing that he's going to have to do, and then the numbers he was able to put up against Pepperdine. He had 20 plus kills in this one. Just get your thoughts.
I was surprised by McFarland's performance. I don't think anybody was surprised about DeWeese's performance at all. But McFarland, he's been battling injuries. I still don't think he's 100%, and he still got the 20 plus kills. If he can maintain that, and I think this will make for a very competitive match. I'm very interested to see how he comes back from such a grueling match against Pepperdine.
All right. Well, we have talked a lot we got a bunch of guests who are on. One person we haven't gotten to, and I'm sorry about this, Jalen Reyes is with us as well to talk about this match. Jalen, I want to get your thoughts. We got you here to talk about the BYU match, but I know you love volleyball. You got any thoughts for what people should be looking for when they're watching Hawaii UC Santa Barbara?
Yeah, no, I agree with what's all been said here. I think Potapunov is a big key. I think that the two opposites will probably kind of decide the match, who can take over the match from the service line and, from the right side. I think Hawaii is a favorite, but I think one thing is it's tough to beat a team 4 times in one season. So I think that'd be an interesting key. And I know Ryan Wilcox wouldn't mind trying to beat his hometown team. So I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I think Hawaii's the favorite, but I think Santa Barbara for sure is going to go down swinging. And they play a little bit different style of volleyball than maybe some other teams with some smaller left side hitters, and they set the ball really fast. But I think whichever opposite has the better night is going to end up winning this match.
So we've broken down this match. Jonathan, let's go back to you here.
Jalen, isn't the matchup that you're looking forward to Ryan Pecksock versus Gage Worsley?
I think that's going to be a really, really huge matchup. I think both liberos are playing really, really well. It's kind of funny. I remember both liberos in their club days, Pecksock playing for MB Surf and Gage Worsley playing for Pacific Rim, his mom and dad's club up in Northern California. I think they're going to be huge, especially from this, talk about serving and passing is the most important. I think both teams have the ability to take over the game from the service line. And the liberos on both sides are going to have a big say in that. And I think both teams have really, really good liberos. So So I think, along with the opposites, I think whichever team kind of keeps the other team off the service line, is going to take this match tonight.
So one final question before we switch gears and talk about the other match. I do want to go to Cindy and just get your thoughts on this. You look at the start time of this match. It's 5 o'clock, 11 a.m. Hawaii time, local time. Is that going to be an issue at all for the Hawaii team, or is their body clocks fully adjusted to Eastern time?
I don't know if they're fully adjusted. I'm not. But they came in, took them 12 hours to get here. They left Sunday evening, got here Monday, and pretty much has gone on a schedule like that. If you think about it, what they practiced at Hawaii on Friday and Saturday, I believe they had 11 a.m. practices. So they were trying to get acclimated to the time difference even when they were back at Hawaii. So, we'll see. If anything, it's not like Santa Barbara playing at midnight when they were back in Honolulu. So I think playing earlier in the morning, as long as they're up early and they feel like, they're already 4 days into the time change, I think they'll be fine.
No one is petitioning more for Hawaii to have noon start times than I am for their home matches. That's one of my goals to see. Help me out. All right. We've talked about Hawaii, UC Santa Barbara. We'll get to predictions later on in this. But there's another matchup as well, folks. We have Lewis. We have BYU. Peter, I want to bring you in here. Looking at this matchup, what is the thing that people need to keep an eye on and pay attention to in this one?
I think this is going to be one of the most exciting games of this season. Both of these teams, in my opinion, play the same style of volleyball, are kind of built the same. Two literal teams of giants on the court, and I think it's going to come down to out-of-system balls and which pin can really terminate on that, because both teams serve very well, and if you're out of system, either team that's on defense is going to put it back in your throat if you don't put it away.
Jalen, I want to get your thoughts here. You look at these two teams offensively, it seems like it's just different philosophies a little bit. Both were in great offenses. You have Lewis that feeds the middles more. They have fed them 300 more times than BYU has fed their starting middles. So with that being said, a team that relies heavy on the middles, what do you have to do game playing to try to stop Tyler Mitchum and TJ Murray?
Yeah, first off, easier said than done, because I think both middle blockers are really, really obviously efficient. I kind of see that they both combined the other night against Penn State. They combined to hit 700 on 30 swings. That's pretty good. I think the first thing is serving. BYU has a couple of servers, Gabby Garcia-Fernandez, Davide Gardini, some guys that can go bang serve from the service line. So I think the first thing they need to do is keep Lewis off the net. I know Colin can set it from off the net, but numbers usually tell us that they're a little more inefficient if they set the quick from off the net, from on the net, especially when Mitchum tries to go behind off 1 foot. It's a little bit harder to do that if Colin's setting the ball from off the net. So I think that's the first thing. I think one thing scheme-wise BYU maybe can do is they can help off of the opposite. Is it Brillhart? I think they can help off of him sometimes with their left front blockers to kind of give more attention to the middle, to have maybe two guys in front, to have some more size in front of Mitchum and Murray, because like you said, they can be a handful. And if they can set those guys, it might be a long night for BYU.
Yeah. And Jalen, I want to get your thoughts as well. You talk about Gabby Garcia-Fernandez. Last time they played Lewis, and granted, this was, almost 2 years ago. So lots has changed in the world since then. He had 7, but still, Fernandez had 7 aces in that match against Lewis. And just get your thoughts. Is he one of the best college servers you've seen or you've gone up against, or in your playing career that you would have gone up against? Is there a correlation that you have? Because that kid can just bomb it from the service line.
Yeah, I remember coaching Gabby his freshman year, and then actually even recruiting him. He had this special ability to be able to control the volleyball or hit it with a ton of spin, but also hit it hard. Usually, especially at a younger age, you have guys that could spin the ball, but maybe not hit it as hard. Or you have the other guys who can hit it really hard, but they can't really control it. Even from when he was 15, 16 years old, I remember he had this ability to be able to hit the ball all over, and he had the hand control and the wrist control to do that. Did I think he was going to become this good of a server? No, because I don't know if you can project that, especially at that age. But he's for sure in the last 10 years, he's got to be one of the most prolific servers ever in college volleyball. I think he's like 3 away from breaking one of my former teammates, Taylor Sanders' record at BYU. So I don't know if he's the best, but he's got to be in the top 3 or 4 in terms of when he goes back to the line, he can single-handedly, change the outlook of a set or a match from the service line.
Jonathan, I'm looking at this matchup as well. We talk about the Lewis and their abilities to beat you in many ways. Ryan Collin, without doubt, one of the best players in college volleyball. And we've got a couple minutes without talking about him. I've been so impressed with his play this season. And I'm intrigued to see what he's able to do, because his ability to hit the ball out of system was a key for Lewis to beat Penn State in the opening round matchup.
With Ryan Coonan, the other thing that's really impressive is we're talking about Cole Brillhart earlier. Cole Brillhart's not an offensive threat by any means. He's in there for defensive purposes. So the fact that the other teams can cue on Coonan and not really focus on Brillhart offensively is more of a testament to how productive and how efficient Coonan is. The thing that I am really looking forward to on here is, and we mentioned this already, and I'll probably belabor this point, but I like to beat a dead horse. Will Stanley get the middles involved for BYU? I mean, it's easy to fall in love with the pin hitters that he has and studying them, but at a certain point, he needs to get the middles involved, and they're really good middles. I think they just need to be shown some love. I want to take this time also to mention that this is probably, if I'm not mistaken, right, Jalen, this is the last senior class that you recruited to BYU. Is that correct?
Yeah, I coached Will for a couple of years. Gabby, I coached when he was a freshman. I recruited Gardini, never coached him. So Gardini was probably the last group I recruited. But yeah, this is kind of the last wave of players I was kind of interacting with at BYU as a coach or as a recruiting coordinator. So definitely makes me feel old seeing that they're all seniors now.
Man, what a tough recruiting. You had to go to Italy to recruit Gardini. That must have just been brutal.
It was tough. It was really tough,
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, is now time to get to predictions for these 2 matches. Let us start going around here. Let's start with the first one, Hawaii, UC Santa Barbara. Jonathan, who do you have?
Definitely not a sweep. I don't think either matches are going to be a sweep. I think it's going to, this one, I'm really tempted to go Cinco, but I think it's Hawaii in 4.
Hawaii in 4. Peter, what about you?
I agree with Jonathan. I don't see any more sweeps coming the rest of the season in men's volleyball. That being said, I do think we're going to see a different Hawaii team tonight. So I'm also going to go Hawaii in 4.
Jalen?
Yeah, I first thing is I don't think there's going to be a sweep. I think it's really hard to beat a team 4 times, which Hawaii would have to do if they were to win tonight. But hometown team, let's go Bows. I got Bows in 4.
Cindy?
Hey, I feel like a broken record here. It could be a sweep, but set 1 could be 42-40. So I do think Hawaii in 4. It's going to be tough to beat a team 4 times. And I think Santa Barbara has a little bit of an edge since they already were in the venue and got to play. But I think the senior class, and it's a bunch of great senior classes going to be at the arena tonight, BYU, Santa Barbara, Hawaii, and Lewis as well. But I think Hawaii's senior class is just so hungry after the disappointment of 2019. And if they don't tighten up and let the pressure get to them, I say Hawaii in 4.
And Cindy, you bring up a good point on the pressure. I think, look, all four of these teams here want to win a championship. I think all of them are motivated, but the pressure, and you talk about these four programs, I think you look at BYU, you look at Hawaii, the pressure on them to win is a little higher just than Lewis and UC Santa Barbara. No disrespect to the fan bases at those schools. I think Coach Wade has done a really good job, though, keeping the team loose. And what we've seen in the past is teams that are able to stay loose in these big matches are able to win. So I'm going to take Hawaii. I'm going to take Hawaii. It's going to go in 2. There's going to beat everyone. UC Santa Barbara is going to be like, we can't play. We're done after. No, I'm just kidding on that. It will go. It will be a good one. I'm not going to pick games here. It'll be good. It'll be a good match, though, very tight. I think we're going to see at least one overtime game. All right.
But Vinny, just one last thought, as Jalen brought up too, as you did, the pressure on Hawaii is not just for the school. They're carrying the whole state with them. And the state hasn't had a national championship, the men in 01, the women since the 87. And yet the fan base is still there. So I think where the pressure is on Hawaii is they're carrying a whole state's hopes with them.
Oh, that is a very good point. Jonathan, really quick, we'll go to you before we get into predictions for BYU Lewis.
And on top of all what Jalen and Cindy said, the women's side didn't play this year. So a already volleyball hungry state, it's even more hungry because they didn't have the women's game to quench their appetite during the fall or spring this year.
All right, let's now go to Lewis BYU prediction time. Peter, you're carrying the hopes of Tennessee right here. State of Tennessee. Who do you have in this one?
Gosh, as I said, I think personally this is one of the matchups that I've been looking forward to seeing for a while, outside of the Hawaii BYU matchup that has been long overdue. But I think it's going to come down to serving and middle aggressiveness, and I'm definitely going to call a Cinco setter here. And I'm sorry, Jalen, but I think I'm going to give the edge to Lewis tonight in 5.
Jonathan?
I'm going. I would have to relinquish my my Twitter handle if I didn't pick BYU. So I'm going to pick BYU, and I'll pick BYU in 4. My prediction will be that BYU wins the last 2 sets of the match.
All right, Cindy, who do you have?
Well, I'd like to ask if Cal Baptist hadn't dropped their program, would BYU even be here? Because Gabby was going to be at Cal Baptist, was going to be a Lancer. Be honest, I think if Gabby can get hot from the service line that we have seen, it changes the whole complexion. What's interesting about Lewis is we saw them against Hawaii in the semifinals at Long Beach 2 years ago. And you saw from then to now, Mitchum just turn into the player that you saw the potential 2 years ago. I think if he and Kunin are allowed to take over the match, Lewis is going to win. So sorry, Jalen. And I love Will Stanley, but I think Lewis in 4.
So I have jokingly said before that if BYU wins a national championship, they need to mail a championship ring to the Cal Baptist athletic director for cutting the program. Jalen, get your thoughts here. Who do you have? I'm assuming Lewis in 3. You're going to take Lewis in 3?
First off, that's a great, and maybe a different story for another day, but a great recruiting story of how that all went down and went from Gabby coming there to us getting in contact with them. That's a great recruiting story for the record. Honestly, I think this is going to be a battle. I know it's super tight. I want to see, even in your predictions, Vinny, you had Lewis being the 2 overall seed after the tournament. So you had BYU 3. Obviously, the committee went the other way. So obviously, I think both teams are pretty evenly matched. I think obviously Kunin versus Garcia is a big matchup, but I think maybe an undervalued one is who plays better between Eschenberg and Bouger. I think whoever does that, I think is gonna win. I think those are the 2 pin players people maybe aren't talking about as much, just because they're maybe overshadowed by the people next to them. I think this is going to be super tight. I could see us in overtime in the 5th set. I'm trying so hard, honestly, not to be a homer, but I got the Cougs in 5, and I think it's going to be. I think it's really, really close, to be honest. I think whoever can serve the ball better is going to win. So I got Cougs in 5 and Hawaii in 4.
All right, those are some good picks, Jalen. No homer accusations here. You look at this matchups, though. One thing to keep in mind, everyone, history is on Lewis's side, though, because since the NCAA tournament expanded to 6 teams in 2014, the number 2 seed has only won once in the semifinals. The number 3 seed has always won. A little bit of an edge, maybe, because they're able to play earlier, get that opening round match out of the way. I think that may be a factor in this one. I'm going to take the Lewis here, Lewis in 4, but this is going to be a close one. Would not be shocked if BYU wins it. Well, folks, this has been fun breaking everything down. Cindy, Jalen, thank you so much for joining us here to break down these matches. We really appreciate having you. Everyone, be sure to stay with us at offtheblogblog.com for all your men's volleyball coverage throughout the day. We got some great volleyball. Just sit back, relax, grab your coffee, and let's watch some fun volleyball tonight, everyone.